Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Accomplishment Coaching is proud to present the following fine programming. Accomplishment Coaching, where coaches lead and leaders coach. AccomplishmentCoaching.com.
Welcome to Leadership Insights Radio.
Hi, I'm Wade Taylor, and I'm glad you're joining us. This is a special episode in our series of 2020 Business Vision. We're inviting thought leaders and various movers and shakers around our community here in San Diego and beyond to talk about what's coming up in 2020, what are they seeing, what does their expertise give them insights to, and how can that information benefit us as we look to expand and improve our businesses in 2020. So today I'm happy to be joined by Josh Irvine. He is a producer at the Rescue Agency, and you can learn more about him online. Go ahead and open up a browser window right now. Go to rescueagency.com, R-E-S-C-U-E, agency.com. And so, Josh, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to inform and enlighten all of our listeners.
Thanks for having me up here, Wade. It's good to be here.
All righty. Where I'd like to start is with getting an understanding of the kind of things you're working on, the impact you have for your clients, so we can get a kind of idea of where your perspective is coming from. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you're helping out clients.
Certainly. Well, I'll start by saying that Rescue Agency is a contractor of the FDA. So our primary client is FDA and other government entities, be it on the state and local side. So a lot of what we're doing is government contracted work, specifically in the health space and the behavior change space.
Okay.
So a lot of the content that we're focusing on, both in video and photo, is how are we serving niche audiences messaging that affects healthy behavior change. And so within that, we're working very closely with the government, the FDA, but again, serving niche communities. So having to tailor messaging, find content, find ways of making behavior change attractive and suitable and incentivizing for, again, niche communities who are focused on.
Right, and I thought that was what would be interesting about your perspective is you guys definitely dig deep, get very much into analytics because, you know, the government is just the person paying the bill. You need to be really making strong connections to all the stakeholders that are involved. And so, you know, I just got the feeling that you guys think a little deeper about the messaging.
Yeah, no, it's great insights and thumb on the pulse there, Wade. I mean, it's what's interesting about what we're doing is that we're obviously federally funded, and so you think of that on a very grand scale. You think of it on a very deep pockets of the FDA. That a lot of that is true. Government work, a lot of the stereotypes that you probably would imagine.
If you can get into it.
If you can get into it, yeah, that's probably true. But what's cool about us is that the work that we're scoped to do is for instance, we are about to go after a anti-vaping, anti-tobacco, and specifically anti-vaping campaign for Alaska Native and Native American communities throughout the United States. So it's a national campaign from a reach standpoint, a geography standpoint, but again, serving niche communities who we're trying to target, who index very highly for tobacco usage. So that's the type of thing where, yes, when we approach this, it's less about the impressions. It's less about trying to get a certain amount of eyes to engage with and interact with our content. The higher priority is seeing the results come in of how are we affecting change and how are we bringing a new way of thinking into, again, niche communities that we are serving.
Right. And I just really want to stress that for myself and all of our listeners, that it's the name of the game these days, due to the internet and just this range of technology and the way we're interacting, is building relationships with communities. And people will often put cart before the horse, and they'll talk about, well, I need to do some video, I need to do this, that, or the other, without taking a step back and go, where am I going to be of best service to that community? Let me focus 100% on understanding the community, understanding where their needs are, and then I'll build everything else out from that. So I just think that's a very powerful lesson that our audience needs to take away as they're listening again to Josh Irvine, a producer over at Rescue Agency. Just really, the name of the game these days is find a community, find your tribe, however you want to phrase that, and live to serve them. And everything else is just details and ways to execute.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm not kind of stealing your thunder, but share with us what your experience now you're wanting to use to bring to our attention as we're looking at 2020, as we're taking a moment to reevaluate everything as the first of the year typically does. Where would you like us to shift our thinking or put our focus with all this experience you have in hand?
Sure. So forgive me, I'm a producer, so I love video. So I'm going to always bring it back to video.
Cool.
And you touched on this earlier in a previous comment about how the internet has changed the game, and that's no surprise to anybody. But it continues to do so from the standpoint that, excuse me, that the way we're asking production companies and cinematographers and people who are actually executing the creative itself to think about it in the ways and the mediums with which we're using to promote this content.
Right.
So social media has obviously changed the game in many industries and certainly in ours for sure. But before, content and video content specifically was so much focus was put on the horizontal aspects of it and how, these wide range sweeping shots with all these beautiful, technically sound cameras are great and they're beautiful and
let me defend, and that's because that's where our eyes work. but go ahead.
I wasn't going to go there, Wade. You went there. Your words, not mine, but that's all good. No, it's one of those things where, the new generation, millennials and younger, they're looking at things on their phone.
Yeah, where's it being consumed?
Yeah, it's being consumed on phones. The percentages go up every year as more and more consumers get used to the mobile devices, right?
Exactly.
And so vertical orientation and ways with which you can take the same thought and the same level of pre-production and production into what used to be thought of as the higher priority of these horizontal framing.
Right.
It's finding ways to make that content equally as engaging and equally as interesting in square and more vertically oriented formats in which you have to have a little bit more attention to what's in your foreground and what is the immediate eye seeing.
Exactly. And that is so critical, just to reinforce that. Don't make the piece of content until you understand how it's going to be consumed.
Correct.
So like you said, you can adapt to that. And, like you said, they're looking at it vertical. I guess TikTok's the new thing these days.
Yep, sure is.
But if you're over on LinkedIn, it might be more square, right? And so continue with the point, but definitely a valid point.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, I think the game used to be is how pretty can we make this thing from a cinematography standpoint. But what we're finding in a lot of the younger generations, I'm a millennial, so I think maybe I missed this as far as like looking at content early on from different, from phones and tablets and things like that. There's almost a little bit of a de-emphasis on the way in which we used to think about the artistry of video.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like you can shoot it on a phone and people are going to be like, yeah, good content,
Right. Well, if I can jump in, these days, authenticity, or at least perceived authenticity, now trumps professionalism.
It's true. Yeah.
And old people like me that were just had it pounded in our head, broadcast quality, and to discover actually that doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Perceived authenticity, perceived transparency, there is what they're pursuing, right?
Well, you say perceived authenticity, and you're mostly correct. I mean, I would almost just take perceived out of it, and that you actually have to fulfill an authentic element of your productions. And so, let's say I'm producing a job for a community in which I don't necessarily identify or affiliate, right? But it's still my objective to produce content that, again, we're trying to affect behavior change. So, so tap into the fiber and core of who you are. Like, I'm not trying to get you to decide between a car to buy. I'm trying to get you to ride a bike. You know what I mean? So how do I talk to you in that way, in a way that you identify, in a way that resonates with you, that is applicable and that speaks to you as a human, and going back to your previous point about communities and relationships, like we have to cross that bridge and we have to do it in 30 seconds.
Right. You've got to have the engagement. So in about a minute, give me the nutshell of the takeaway that you want our audience to be thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. I would say it really boils down to, I think you brought it up really well, is the communities we're serving, how do they react and how do they like to ingest content? Or excuse me, digest content, I should say.
Right.
Usually it's phones, usually it's tablets, especially when you're speaking about younger generations. Once you establish that link, you have to, I think really focus on the research, focus on the data that states, that tells you, that paints the picture of how this community and how this audience likes to be delivered their messaging. Because there's going to be nuances, there's going to be elements of it that you won't pick up on unless you get into the weeds of it and you really fully understand what they're about and then how we're going about doing it. And then it's how can you take those learnings, bring it to a production, bring it into a pre-production process that continues down that lane of cultural authenticity and cultural appropriateness. I think if you can have that ingredients, you're going to have a good meal.
Yeah, just real quick, Greg Witt, a friend, Gen Z Frequency is his book.
Cool.
And that's what he's talking about, is understand that millennial.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then build outward from there. So with about a minute left, above and beyond getting us to truly understand our audience and deliver messaging to them in however they choose to consume it, is there something that you wish we would start or stop doing for 2020?
That's a great question, Wade.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where the acknowledgement of trends can't be overstated, right? Like you can look at video production as it's been for the first, 200 years of its existence, but understand that the game is changing. And so, there's a lot of purists out there who would balk at the idea that a scene can be shot on a phone. But if it helps further an element of authenticity or creative exploration or ways in which you're reaching, again, younger audiences with a different point of view and a different way of being used to taking on content, that's, I think, a trend that if you don't get on board with it, you might find yourself left behind because it's acting accordingly.
Exactly. You got to embrace trends, not fight them if you want to prosper in this upcoming year, because the world is changing on us. So great information from Josh Irvine. Again, he's a producer at rescueagency.com, and we'll be back with more great information on Leadership Insights Radio, powered by WSRadio.com.
If you heard that sound, you probably are eligible for insurance from Navy Mutual, insuring the men and women of the Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. Here's what one policyholder, retired Navy Commander Thomas Dade, had to say.
Navy Mutual is the best insurance decision I ever made. I wish you had a savings plan available that earned the rates my Navy Mutual insurance has been earning.
Navy Mutual Aid Association, started by military members in 1879, serves active, reserve, and retired military today. Navy Mutual honors our military by providing them affordable life insurance with the features they need without fine print, sales fees, or military service restrictions. Value, integrity, trust, and stability are the cornerstones on which our commitment to you and your loved ones are built. Call Navy Mutual at 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org for your personal life insurance plan consultation. 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days.
What's that mean? Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/expressfunding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Hi, Scale listener. This is David Finkel, co-host with Jeff Hoffman of Scale Your Business. I wanted to let you know that our newest book, Scale, was just released, and to encourage you to get your copy. The book will give you 7 proven principles to grow your business and get your life back. If you've ever wanted to grow your business, but held yourself back from fear that it would take over your life, then we urge you to get your copy of Scale today. It'll give you a proven roadmap for rapidly growing your business while also gaining more personal freedom. Scale will help you work less by getting your business to produce more. Scale is for every entrepreneur who ever wondered if they really own their business or if their business owns them. Get your copy online or at your local bookseller. For more information, visit us online at scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com. That's scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.